In this exercise, let's study inheritance in Kotlin language. Let's create an app. Kotlin Inheritance. What we are going to design or practice is as follows. In the top of the inheritance hierarchy, we are going to design employee class. And the employee class has certain features. And then subclass of employee is a manager class. And then finally subclass of a manager is executive class. So we want to define in this hierarchy, and then through the hierarchy we want to utilize some form of polymorphisms. So in the source code, so employee, manager, executive could be a pure data model of a MVC architecture. So let's create a package named model. In the model, let's create the first class as employee. And the employee in primary constructor, we are going to take name and salary. Let's have a private name as a string, private salary as integer there. Then we are going to design raise salary function where a rate of the raise is provided. Then computation should be salary is increased by the amount of raise, that is salary times rate. So salary times rate. Here we have some type mismatch. Salary is integer and then rate is double, so result would be a double, so we need to change it to int, the result. So by the rate, the salary is raised. Then for testing purpose or later to display on the list view, let's provide a toString method, fun toString. Their single expression should be sufficient. So what you are going to return is this is employee class where you have name and salary there. So based on that, let's define manager class, which is a subclass of our employee. So right click, Kotlin class manager. So the manager class, we are going to have another member which is now department. So manager will have name and salary same as employee, but a manager has its own member called the department. So in primary constructor, let's take it as name string and salary int, and then private var department as a string there. Then we will have an employee as a parent class where name and salary are forwarded to the. So here one of the error message comes under employee. So what it says is that this type is a final, so it cannot be inherited from. What it means is that in Kotlin, unlike Java, every class you define is just a final. What it means is that you cannot derive a subclass out of any class. That's meaning final class. So to allow a class subclass, then what you need to do is when you define class, you need to say open. So open allows that subclass is possible. So if I go back to manager now, the error message is gone. So unless you give a keyword open, then there is the final class declaration. So eventually we are going to have an executive class which is a child of a manager. So we need to open manager class as well. So here we need to override. We are going to override raise salary. So what I'm going to do is when company announces a certain salary raise, like a 5% raise, then each employee gets whatever is announced, but managers will get 1% more. So let's implement that using polymorphism. So we are going to override function raise salary. But here in Android Studio should suggest the raise salary, but it does not. The reason is in employee, similarly, to allow override, we need to open the function as well. So that's a Kotlin, but in Java, it's automatically opened. But in Kotlin, you need to do explicitly. So for the class, open means a subclass is allowed. For each function, open means override is allowed. So let's go back to manager and then let's try again. So override function, then raise salary appears there. So here company allows 1% more, then you can do super call raise, but just add 1% more. So 0, 1 is 1% more. Then through polymorphism, we could do something like this. So I don't have to recompute in subclass, just utilize a parent class, but just change whatever is needed. Then toString, we need to override properly as well. Then the toString, again, single expression sufficient, and manager is a class name, their name, and the salary, we could do that, but here name is a private. Employee name is a private and salary is a private. So unless you change it to protected, I cannot use name and salary directly. So what you can do is call super toString. So ampersand super parent class toString, then all the information defined in employee in toString, those will comes out. And then whatever in addition to manager class is department. So department is its own member. So something like this would work. Department. So because of the drawings, I cannot see the, okay. So the problem was this one. So manager class is done. Now let's define executive class. Then company policy is that the executives will get 1% more of managers. So let's create another class for executive. Executive, we get name, we get salary, we will have department, but as to the executives, the department is always in a parent class as well. Yeah, parent one is manager. So we can simply forward the name, salary, and department. The executive class does not need to remember anything in its own, so we don't give any var keyword there. Then let's define raise salary function, and then we call super.raiseSalary, and then add one more percent. So whenever we say super, it means it's an immediate parent, which is a manager. So we add one more percent onto managers. So eventually executive gets 2 more percent compared to employee. Then let's override toString function as a single expression. Then name of the class is executive. Then let's call super toString. Then its own department is not needed. It's already stored in manager, so that should be sufficient. So let's test this hierarchy in main activity. So in main activity, for testing purpose, let's create a member variable, private protected employee list as a array list of employee there. Okay, I forgot var employee, import that. So let's give some test data. So for I in 1 through 10 and employee list, let's add regular employee class, the name of the employee. Let's have employee name with I as a suffix, and then salary is 1000. Let's give us same values there. Then let's copy these lines, and then 5 manager. Let's do that. It's a manager. So manager, and we need to import that manager name and the same salary, and then let's give a manager department with a index value, and then let's have another 5 executive class. Then it's an executive name, and department is E as well. So all test data is created. Then using a loop, employee in employee list, let's do log info with a certain tag, and then display employee. So toString method will be called. Then let's import log. Then we need to define tag employee. It's like that. Then let's test in log cat. Let's see some employee tag, and then tag value is employee. And here's the value shows up. So employee, then manager, and then executive. So also here polymorphism works. So depending on which actual type is there, and then as we call raise salary, at this moment all the salaries are the same 1000. Then let's do raising salaries for E in employee list. Let's call E dot raise salary. Let's raise 1%. Then logcat, right click and clear. Then let's run it. Here, the very top employee, or 1% is 10, so 10 is there. Now in managers is 1020, 2%, and executives 1030 is 3% raise is done.